Thank you to my audience that's here. This is Right Wing Rico, the Single Boyfriend Podcast, and we need to talk. There's a lot that's going on in the news right now. I'm here to clear up any of the issues and to make the connections for you. I'll try to keep the video as brief as possible because I do have to clip it and share it, and that's how I've been spreading more information and just getting around things. First things first, in the 90s, when Epstein met Trump, Trump was of no use to Epstein at the time. Epstein was already being financed by Israel, so that meant that magically he was a billionaire all of a sudden. Also, Trump was not a politician. Trump is also not a scientist. The number one thing that everyone's missing is it wasn't the politicians that were going to Epstein Island, it was the scientists. Epstein was a huge contributor to science programs all over the world. In this particular instance, the one that they're blackmailing Trump about was the most recent research before he died, the research that Bill Gates stole from him, that he didn't take all the information. Candace Owens said something that is true. She said they are blackmailing President Donald Trump in broad daylight. The slow release of the emails is intentional. Now he will give them whatever they want. For those who struggle with context clues, they is Israel. The who is Jeffrey Epstein, who worked for them. This is how our nation is run. Again, Trump is in a race against time, and unfortunately, the reason that they want to release this now is because if they wait 2 years to release this information, there won't be anybody to protest and to try to get him kicked out of office or arrested or whatever they're going to try to do. At this point, I'm not sure what they can do. I just know that there are still too many people with the injection in their system that are still alive. Now, in 3 years, those people would have already passed away by now. And when this information comes out, the ramifications as far as what the public and what the public can do as far as damage to the infrastructure, imagine the George Floyd riots times 10. If this comes out now, it will be the George Floyd riots times 10. And right now, Trump is not just being blackmailed by Israel, he's also being blackmailed by the globalists. Trump's in a very tough position. And I will tell you both of their sides. The Zionists are threatening to release the emails proving that Trump was connected to the bioweapon that was being engineered on Jeffrey Epstein's island. I don't know how many of you remember the earthquake of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and all the children that were orphaned who disappeared, the children that survived the earthquake. Most of those children were taken and they were used in experiments on Epstein Island. They developed a bioweapon that they specifically created that would target people in their racial group. They tried to do it in the Ukraine and Russia. There's too many similarities, but there is a way for you to take out more black people than there are everyone else who takes it. There are some collateral damage. There are some acceptable losses, but it's not going to be the percentage as high as it would be when you're trying to create it in the Ukraine to take out Russians, because there's too many similarities between those people. But when you're trying to target dark people, it's a little bit easier because there's only one common denominator between all of them that only certain populations share. So you can target them in that way. What they're going to do is they're going to use that data that when they find out what Epstein was working on, because that's why they can't release the Epstein files, because they contain the COVID files. When they find out what was in the injection and that it was a bioweapon meant to kill off one particular group of people, the riots are going to destroy the country. It is going to be because once these people find out, they are going to pass away in less than 3 years. No matter what they do, they're not going to have anything to lose. That's what the Zionists are holding over Trump's head. The Zionists want protection. The globalists are here. This is where the globalists are blackmailing Trump. There was something that was created called the cyber polygon. This is why Trump and the United States cannot jump in and save the Zionists, from the fight that they're losing against the globalists. Now, the globalists are using the Islamic invasion from the Middle East and in Africa. Those are their soldiers. They flooded them into Europe, and they're flooding them into the United States. This is their leader, and this is why the United States cannot jump in, because then they would do this to us.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
So that was the threat from the globalists. If the United States jumps in to try to save the Zionists from the globalists, then we will be hit with a cyber polygon. If we don't jump in to save the Zionists from the globalists, the Zionists will release the information they have on the Jeffrey Epstein experiments. The way they're going to tie that to Trump is through warp speed. They're going to say that the bioweapon was created under warp speed and that Trump knew. But that's not the case. Trump did not have the stomach to go along with wiping out his black population. This is something that was a G7 leaders all agreed to. Trump didn't have the stomach for him. Trump didn't have the stomach for it. So they removed him temporarily and put in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who had zero problem with euthanizing one particular trouble group in the United States. Well, actually worldwide. If you go to any of these Western countries, they will, the citizens, if you speak to them individually, they will all say that there is a problem with one particular race of people. And it's the same one that we all see on Twitter and X, the same ones we see all the issues with everywhere, for the most part. I'll just call it the way it is. Somebody took measures to eliminate and remove that problem from the gene pool. These people got together, and come on, race-based bioweapons, people have been talking about trying to do this for 50 years. It's just that only with recent technology, well, the technology of the 90s is how they were able to put it together. Now, there were hundreds of politicians that went to Epstein Island, because to get everything passed so that there wouldn't be any safeguards for this whole vaccine trial, you had to bribe politicians from all over the country and different parts of the world. But when it came to scientists, they recruited thousands of them that worked on Epstein Island. And the scary part is nobody ever talks about them. So let's see here. I'll pull up a video to show you some of this data. Let's see here. Let's see here. There, yeah, he was an intelligence asset, but he was also funding the research. But it was through Israel. Let's see here. The Epstein scientist. Oh, yeah, Joe Rogan. There was someone who talked about this. I have a whole compilation that I put together, but we're just on the fly right now. Epstein was actually doing network behind him. CIA contractors. No, not. I think it's this one. It could be. Let's see here. There was an interview with Joe Rogan, and there was someone that was speaking about all the different scientists that paid money just to be around Epstein and how Epstein was recruiting them. They never go into detail about what type of research they were being recruited for. What they were being recruited for was to experiment on these children from the Caribbean, from Haiti, and from West Africa. Bill Gates has an organization called Gavi that's already in West Africa. They're testing where you can inject people's data into them. So then it's track, trace, and database. You won't need a debit card. You won't need ID. It'll all be a biometrics already built into your body. But the research for that all began with trying to develop a weapon that you can inject it into everyone, but it would only kill off certain people only. That was the whole purpose of it. Now, we can just say allegedly because this is all science fiction, but just like the rest of these conspiracy theories, you're just about 6 months out from knowing the truth. So what they're holding over Trump's head is releasing that information and then pretending that because Trump's a racist, he put together the warp speed to inject Black Americans purposely with something he knew that would kill them and give them cancer, blood clots, and heart attacks. That is true, but Trump wasn't involved. Warp speed did not end until after Trump was out of office. He tried to take credit with starting it. But remember, these injections that they gave out during the mandates, they had already existed since as early as we can tell, 2010, because they were going to do this with the swine flu. They just didn't have enough infrastructure to do it around the world, not like they did here. So Trump's in a hard position. Does he get blackmailed from the Zionists and he has to worry about the still remaining Black population of about 32 million rioting in the streets and wanting to burn down the country? Or does he have to worry about the globalists wiping out our grid and shutting down our systems and creating chaos here for the next 3 years until we can rebuild our systems and recover from their sabotage? Trump's in the middle. He's going to have to choose one. He can't choose both. And he can't stay neutral. We can't stay neutral. We're caught in the middle. Remember, the globalists and the Zionists are fighting over us. We're currently owned by the Zionists. The globalists want to remove the Zionists and take the Zionists' place as far as being the controllers of our country. The way it works is if you control the politicians, you control the people, you control the arsenal in our military. When the rest of the world saw that Israel, a country the size of New Jersey, could get a massive behemoth like the United States to attack another country that is heavily armed like Iran on behalf of the New Jersey-sized country, that made that country the envy of the world. The World Economic Forum wants that same influence over our arsenal, which is going to be required for the eventual one world government. The only thing standing in the way of a one world government is the fact that Israel will never be number two. They would have to be number one. So in that case, why do you think now you can talk openly about Jews and Israel and Zionists without being banned? Chuck Schumer is getting kicked out of office. Everything around the Zionists is being destroyed. The Daily Wire is going to go bankrupt. They've lost the war. And the Islamic hordes are flooding in. It won't be soon before long before they start doing mass protests, rioting, and burning down Jewish neighborhoods in New York City. It might be soon after Madami takes office, but it could happen even as soon as December. There will be no police to protect them. They have already set up a beachhead in New York, the globalists, and they will be bringing in more Muslims, men, as soldiers, and then they will spread west. This is a fight over the United States. Trump's in the middle. And yes, they're slowly letting Trump know we can release the rest of this information. Right now, people just think this is about kids, but they think it's about kids and sex. They don't know it's about kids and experiments yet. And they're going to say, because Trump's racist and all the Black kids they experimented on, they're going to tie that together and say he purposely knew he was euthanizing an entire race of people. And that's the leverage the Zionists have over Trump. What the globalists have is cyber polygon. So that's how they're all connected. That's where Epstein comes in. Epstein worked for Israel. Epstein is who went around and brought the scientists together. He also brought the politicians, and he provided them what they need and he paid them. Now, as far as I know, what Trump wasn't in the 90s, he wasn't a politician and he wasn't a scientist. If anything, they used Trump for networking. They wanted to go to the events that he was at because there would be other prominent people there, and that's how they could get them into honeycomb operations. But they wouldn't. But apparently Trump turned Epstein in 2004 to the feds. So everyone's looking for some weird stuff about Trump being a pedo. They're not going to find that. But it will be even worse if you find out he basically participated in a genocide. See, you'll be able to go after Trump, but you can't do anything to Israel. The only one that can hurt Israel is the globalists, and they are hurting Israel bad. Who do you think is paying for all these free Palestine protests all over the world in different countries at the same time continuously. It's the globalists. And they have the Zionists on the rope. The Zionists were about to lose their evangelical support in the United States, so they hit Kirk. The reason I feel zero sympathy for the Zionists is because of what they did to Kirk. I feel no sympathy for them. Let them go into the wind. Let them splinter into the wind. That's what JFK wanted for the CIA anyway. And our CIA is Zionist controlled, just like our FBI. But I see those soon changing hands into the power of the globalists. You just don't understand this because you don't watch enough of my content. But now that you've seen this video, you do. It's 15 minutes long, so it's not too much to listen to and to learn. That's the connections. Candace Owens is right. She just doesn't understand. Trump's being blackmailed by both sides, and he's going to have to pick one because the other one's going to happen regardless. So whichever one he picks, the other one's going to happen. So I guess we're going to have to just see which one will we prefer. Never-ending riots or a complete shutdown of our grid and our internet and our cyber attack that completely freezes us in time. So we got to decide which one we would prefer and prepare for it. Like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back on with another live in about 30 minutes. See you again shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.